Today's guest is proof that when you follow your heart, incredible things really can happen. Georgia Ezra is an award-winning interior architect and director of Melbourne-based practice Studio Ezra. She's the CEO of artisan tile company Tiles of Ezra, and she's the star of TV show Design Down Under. She does all of this while running multiple businesses, being a mum, a wife, and a boss to a team of 13.
I would have lists of tens to hundreds of different retail stores, and I'd get, we are never going to bring that tile in. We will never work with that. Never, 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 never. A lot of those businesses now are like trying to import them themselves, and we carved a niche in this field.
So welcome.
Jess, I love you. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
That's a
That was
pleasure,
a beautiful
darling.
introduction.
I remember the first day that I met you. I think it must be like 12 years ago now. It was a while ago. When did you start Tiles of Ezra? Just in my head?
It started on paper like 2011, but like there was a lot of things before it came to fruition.
So it wasn't long after it started.
It would have been
that
like
I met
2013 we met, like around then.
Yeah.
I remember I brought cement samples and Talavera tiles and we put them on the floor of your incredible
I actually
warehouse.
met you through one of my clients, Kylie. She actually found you. You were quite new to the space. She was so excited
Yeah,
for
because
us
she
to
was
meet.
my makeup artist and hair,
Okay, that makes
my
sense.
hair stylist for my wedding.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then she was so excited about what you were doing. And then I just remember being so excited by what you do. I think I'd really like to talk to you about taking the leap, right? Because you're already an interior architect. You're already creating amazing spaces and really carving a niche for yourself. I think one of the things that I really love about your aesthetic is that you do inspire getting the best out of your client and also making them try and work out what they want. You know, so you are teaching them about texture and warmth and layering and timeless design, but you're also encouraging them to be a part of that process and discover who they are. And in all of your interiors, for me, I don't look at each one and think, oh, they're similar. I look at them and think, oh, they're telling the story of the person who lives there. And I love that about you. And I think for me, what was it when you, I think for me, taking risks is something that I just have to do. Following my heart like you do and being led by that creative heart, taking the risk just has to happen because I have to follow that heart.
Yeah.
But for you, when you were an interior architect and you wanted to take that leap, I know that you probably couldn't find the product because it didn't exist before you brought it to the country, let's be honest. I mean, you can buy a lot of handmade tiles here now, but you're still bringing like the latest collection. I was like, and you can't get that here, you know, and you're constantly providing what we don't have. What was it about that jump and what was the hardest risk in that for you?
Yeah, I think firstly, as a creative, we're never short of ideas and things that we want to do. I think that's
True.
the last problem us creatives have. So I moved from Sydney to Melbourne when I was 22. I moved October 3rd. And I remember the date. I remember the date. And I became 23 on January 1st, which is my birthday. So when I came to Melbourne, I came to start working as an interior architect at an architectural firm. And during this time, I was always playing around with certain designs that I had done when I was younger, still living in Sydney, bringing them to the market, going to fairs, collecting architecture, like, you know, different design and architect emails and contact details. So I'd conjured up like a little bit of a list. And I had experienced what it was like to have a business that you worked really hard in, but wasn't really market desired. You know, people would buy it, but it was a hard sell.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit, I went out on my own and I was designing a project in Albert Park. It was a meat, wine and cheese, like delicatessen / bar. And I wanted it to have this very Mexican hacienda feel. Couldn't find the tiles here, sourced them from Mexico, made a small margin on it. Unexpectedly, like the cost was to cover, but made a small margin. I was like, that was interesting. So I took a photo and sent it out to that list that I had created previously from the furniture company. And within a day, I had 3 significant orders. I would still call those orders significant to this day.
Yeah.
Right? And so I knew straight away that this was something that was desired in the market, right? I tapped into something. But I knew it subconsciously. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to explore this business. I was just like, I'm just going to go with the flow and see where this... I wasn't thinking I want a tile business. I was just thinking, oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Let's do that, you know? And Tiles of Ezra was born, literally like that. So for me at that time, I wouldn't call it a risk. Like that wasn't a risk. I had nothing to lose. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea that I was like building a tile company. I still laugh about the fact that it was only like 3 years ago. I'm like, okay, I have a tile company. You know, for so many years, I'm like, I just manufacture artisan products, you know. But now I'm like, yeah, I have a tile company, you know. So I never...
It's so funny because I think like when I think about the tile, you know, industry before you brought all of those amazing products to market, it was pretty boring here in Australia. Like we had porcelain and we had this and we had that. We had concrete tiles, we had encaustic tiles, we had a bit of terra, we had stuff, but we really hadn't exploded into what was really available, and it was boring. And I think the texture and that depth that handmade products bring to a space just didn't exist here. So it must have been like following your heart, right? And just going along with it because you were just drawn to go along with it.
Yes.
But how incredible that following that, and you say that so flippantly, like it was just, you just followed it because that's you and that's everything that you encompass. For a lot of people, that transition isn't actually that easy to do.
Yeah.
A lot of worry and a lot of stress and a lot of pre-planning and overthinking can take place in that process. So I think it's really gorgeous to hear, and also gorgeous for people to believe who are younger and creative and coming into their own, that sometimes you do just have to go with the flow and see where it takes you.
I think at the time, like I wasn't really aware of, you know, potential issues that could lay ahead, especially I wasn't aware of hardships that come with artisan products, so working with handmade tiles, or, you know, the operational stuff that comes with manufacturing in general. Whereas I think that a lot of tile companies, small, medium, large, they had years of experience of that and they didn't want to dabble in it. They didn't want to touch it. And so they didn't. Yeah. Whereas for me, I was so green, and I often will say, you know, you look at so many businesses that have come to fruition. A lot of the people that lead these incredible businesses in all different industries, they never were part of that industry before. No. And so they take a jump into a pond that no one else is willing to jump into because of fear, because of money, because of projections, because of all these Excel spreadsheets that tells them no. You know, so I really 100%. Think that... I'll never forget, I used to sit at my dining table and I would have lists of tens to hundreds of different retail stores, calling every morning, I'd call like 50 a day or like 20 to 50 a day. And I'd get, we are never going to bring that tile in. We will never work with that. Never, 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 never. And like a lot of those businesses now are like, you know, trying to import them themselves. And it's really interesting how we carved a niche in this field, and it took a lot of hard work, a lot of learning. We were educating tilers on how to lay handmade product, what was considered a defect, not a defect. So we really went through those hard yards to bring this form of tile in essence to mainstream.
And I love that you say educating, because for me, in all of the fields that we do, and it should be in all of the industries, right, education is actually the most important thing. And if we're not having the right conversations with the market or with our clients, we're not getting it right as far as I'm concerned. I feel like when we started using your handmade product, and maybe we were unusual in that space, I'm not sure, but like for me, using a handmade product, the imperfection is the product. But that wouldn't have been the case. It would have mainly been that, oh, they're chipped, this isn't da-da-da-da. And you have to spend so much time and energy educating people that is the product, and that's what makes it spectacular. It only happened to me again, last week or something. We were putting the tiles on the wall, and the client saw it ungrouted and was like, "Oh, look at all the chip." And I was like, "No, that's and they're not. That's perfect. That's exactly how they're meant to be. Let them be grouted, and then tell me how you feel." They were grouted. She was like, "Oh my God, these are the most amazing things ever." But she hadn't experienced that before, so I understand where people come from in that sense, but the work that's involved in carving the way for something that's new, something that doesn't exist, something that people are afraid of, or just the unknown is massive. And I don't think people really understand it unless they walk that path. So firstly, well done. Congratulations. But not just that, you didn't stop there. You never just stop there. Then you bring out the mosaics. Then you bring out the later, the Zelages that have, because then other people start bringing in Zelages, and then there's like 20 companies now that do that. But then you brought out ones with patterns, and then you brought out ones with incredible colour combinations, and that you are always pushing yourself forward and reinventing the wheel and delivering products for us to make us look great. So thanks.
I mean, and that's actually the drive here. I'm an interior architect. Yeah. So I've always been very transparent around the way that I design. It's if I don't like it, if it wouldn't go, I always say, like, if it won't go, if I wouldn't put it in my own home, it does not make our website. It is not going. Yeah. I have to love it. Or I'm not proud of it. And if there starts becoming like some products in the range, I'm like, get them off. Like I just don't like those anymore. And so that keeps our ranges very curated, having a strong aesthetic. I'm not trying to be there for everyone. I'm not trying to be like a tile company that sells everything to everyone. I'm creating a very curated range. But right now, it's funny that you say that, because I've taken a huge pause on designing homes, and I've poured all of my bandwidth of creative energy into designing ranges of tiles for clients globally. And that is like a huge amount of energy. It zaps it out of you, because I'm trying to create something that doesn't exist. I'm trying to create molds, and I'm like, okay, what is unique and so different that I wish I had on the market that I don't, but then also will sell to the mass. Like, it's like business mind, creative mind. And so you might love something 100%. So much, but it's not going to sell to mass. And someone might use it, like, you might get like 4 jobs a year, but I need to have like it's selling every single day of the year. So that's a very fine line and boundary, and it's creativity, it's business mind, but it's gut, it's like instinct. And that is something that I feel I'm quite good at, like having an instinct on what like will sell.
Well, I think you've always been really good at I don't mean to use the word trend, because it's not appropriate for you, but if you have an instinctual design eye, that I almost feel like you bring it out and then the market realizes they need it, and that is instinct. I find always that if I go to a presentation of a product, or I'm shopping for a client, or I'm getting presented a range, I'm going to pick the one that no one else likes. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about me. I just always like the stuff that isn't mass market ready. So for me, whenever
you want uniqueness, you want to create exclusivity, you want to create
something. It's a small
something
market, especially here in Australia, right? So it is a really difficult thing for you, because you do need to make money. Like, you do have to keep your root. It's a business, right? So there is a fine line between being able to sell it globally, to sell it commercially, to make profit, but to also follow your heart. And that must be really challenging some days. Yeah. How do you handle that?
Well, the beauty about Tiles of Ezra is that it's actually a global business. So different markets gravitate to different things. Australia is much more conservative with its selections. And I will say over the last 2 to 3 years, I've seen, of course, we've seen designers are always wanting to push boundaries, but I think clients are now more willing to go down that path in terms of use of materials and colours, because I think in Australia, clients are now really excited about having something that's unique and different, which is something that I feel wasn't necessarily the case maybe like 10 years ago.
Even 4 years ago.
I see a huge change in the last 4 to 5 years. But even then, I would say that still with the material choice of tiles, we can be really creative, but I do feel like in terms of like stocking materiality, I still feel like Australia is a little bit more on the conservative side, whereas in America, the things that I design and push and the patterns and the way that the stock just flies out the door, it's a whole different bull market. So, it's a whole different, it's a bull market? It's a whole different ball game.
I mix my metaphors all the time.
It's a whole different ball game, and I just feel like clients in America are far more willing to be quite adventurous with patterns and colors. And there's just like, there's 350 million people in America. So there's 25 million here. So, and I do feel like, I say people are more people are breaking that conservative mold, there's still a goat mentality to elements and trends and all of that.
100%.
In America, there's like 100 different ways you could go, and there's the beautiful cottage designer, and then there's the modern one, and then there's the one, there's so many different variations to design, and people gravitate towards different and unique, and so I'm able to express and flex that muscle for that market.
Amazing. And has that given you more freedom here? Because I would imagine when you were just designing for Australia, you have to be more commercial, and you have to be safer, and you have to do all of these things. But now it's a global market with US driving that, but also to all of the other countries that you're selling to as well. I mean, the list is just expanding rapidly. That I'm assuming that gives you a lot more freedom to then have a bigger range and to go a little bit harder. And I know there are quite a few Australian companies that started here and have branched out into the US and are just flying over there. And then that's allowed us here in Australia to get a better product range from that company. It's a little bit sad in a way that it takes global expansion and global acceptance. But the simple fact of the matter is we're small.
Yeah, I just think, I think we produce some of the best design in the world from this beautiful island called Australia. I think we have the best designers, the most talent here. And every time I go to America, everyone's like, oh my God, every time I save an image, or it's always from America. Australia. And often they'll say Melbourne, but I think Sydney has, anyway, Australia has amazing designers, but they will always say we love, and I'm seeing actually our American clients become a little bit more modernized in the way that they approach design. That's very similar to Australian designers. It's really quite interesting to see their mood boards change and their materiality change. So it's funny because what I would never have pushed to America, that I'm like, this will be amazing in Australia, I'm starting to now push into America.
Right,
there's a few new ranges that we're going to start pushing into America. And maybe a year ago I would have thought this will never work. It'll be way too modern. And now I'm like, we need to bring this to market pronto. This is going to be unbelievable.
Do you reckon the Australian landscape has quite a bit to do with the quality and the texture and the depth that we produce here in design? I mean, I know that in everything that we do as a design firm, everything that I love, always, or anything that pulls on my heart, has a handmade or an element of the earth or a palette, a tone from our incredible landscapes. I wonder how lucky we are in this country with the diversity of the landscapes, the space that we have, the beaches, the deserts, the colours, the texture in what we surround ourselves. I wonder how much of that plays a part in what we create here.
Yeah, I think that designers in Australia, they just I do feel like there's a lot of paring back, bringing it back to basics and celebrating the outdoors, that really strong interconnection of indoor-outdoor play, how we sprawl out onto our gardens and have long afternoon barbecues with our family and friends, how families often, it's rarer that families disperse and split apart they do in America. So there's, after, when kids go to college, there's a lot of maybe movement, maybe more movement than we see in Australia. I feel like families stay together physically in the same city. That's what I mean by that. And so I find that there's a lot of every Tuesday night we do dinner together, every Sunday, that is a very common thing. And I think that the culture of indoor-outdoor living is so big in Australia. And I think when it comes to design, it doesn't matter if like you're using colour or texture or pattern. I think we pare things back to their simplified form. You know, you might find like a beautiful sandglass tile and it's like, but it's on mass, you know, floors, walls, ceilings, wrapping, like we celebrate form instead of using like 5 different, you know, patterns or 5 different types of tile in the same room. We actually select, I often find like designers select 1 or 2 and celebrate form and pare it back and let the forms.
That's definitely true of what we do.
That's one of the things really that I do feel that I notice a lot.
Yeah, no, I think that's really true. There's something to love about so many Australian designers and how we do it here. The only thing I wish we did better is quality. I feel like we're still not talking about the right stuff when we talk about quality and longevity, and this conversation around resale and, you know, I'm getting my money back, or it needs to be safe for when I sell it again, or like this constant undertone here that we have where we tapware, tiles, you know, door hardware, where we try and save money on these things in some sort of misguided thought that we're saving money, but we're actually not. You know, you actually don't save money when you buy a kitchen tap that's cheap, when you put it into your beautiful stone that you paid a lot of money for and your sink, and then you have to change it and you have to pay for the plumber and you have to recut the hole and you have to do it. All of a sudden this cheap tap isn't cheap. And I just would really love if as an industry we could talk more about being less disposable, more sustainable, and a little bit more sensible about where we spend our money. And that doesn't mean everyone has to go out and buy furniture from space. I mean, sure, if you can, great. But it isn't about having the best of everything. It is about being sensible about where you spend your money. You know, taps, showers, tiles, hard surfaces, things you can't come back at or shouldn't come back at should be a priority. And then if you have to buy some furniture from an auction house or bring your old stuff for a bit or make a compromise because you're not willing to buy disposable or replace things for the sake of replacing them. Dining chair's a classic one. You know, someone will buy a replica dining chair, which isn't even cheap. They're like $500-600 for a replica dining chair. And they're in the bin in 5 years and you're buying another one. How when you can go to Mark Tuckey and spend $550 for an Australian-made dining chair, or you can buy a Thornay dining chair that's meant for commercial settings, or Grazier & Co., that is going to outlive your children, and they're not that much more expensive. How does that make sense? So I don't know. That's one thing I would really like our industry to talk more about. And you talk about education. To me, we should be having those conversations.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and I don't have answers as to why, and I'm certainly not going to come with wisdom with regard to that, but I will say something that I do notice when I'm in America, when I'm in Australia, because I go to America, you know, 3+ times a year. I do notice the difference in the way that people talk about things in general. And this is obviously a generalization. I know lots of people that don't talk this way in Australia, but it's like you gloat, like Australians tend to gloat on this, you know, if they got something at say Kmart or IKEA, it's like, oh my God, well, I got it. Whereas in America, they gloat on the expense spent. So I think it's something that is universally a society thing, and I think
it's expensive to live here.
It is actually
it's really expensive to live here. It's expensive to renovate. It's expensive to build. It's expensive to go to the supermarket. It's expensive to buy furniture. It's expensive to buy a car. We have to pay more for everything because of our size, because of our location, and I think that makes it hard. But it doesn't give us an excuse.
No, because in the end of the day, like, just say someone comes to you with a budget of X amount, it's your job to show them, okay, well, this is where we can save money and this is where you need to spend it, but you'll spend the same in the end of the day. And so I think,
and it's time, right? We just get busier, we get less time, so less energy goes into it. I mean, I remember the days 10 years ago, people would pay me to source antique furniture, to mix and match the old and new. No one wants to do that anymore. No one wants to spend the time to find and curate old and new if it takes a long time. If they can get it on, if you can source it online for them, or you can do it quickly, great. They love the idea. But if it can't happen quicker, therefore be cheaper, I find that storytelling is getting a little bit lost in that. And that is sure another generalisation. Everything we're talking about is just a small market, but that doesn't exist in the very high-end, echelon of boutique firms and boutique houses. But in this next tier down, where people are still spending between 800 and 3 million renovating their house, it's costing so much to renovate that I feel like the ability to do those things that take time and energy is harder.
Yeah, and also if you're not in the industry and you don't know, it's so overwhelming.
It is. Yeah.
I think about, for me it's like walking, it's my language, right? But I think about myself in like, I don't know, Google SEO or something that I have no idea about. I'm so overwhelmed and I don't know what to do, and I'm going to trust what I'll do my own research, but I'm like taking everyone's word very seriously, and by the end I'm worn out and I'm like, just do whatever,
Information overload, decision fatigue.
It becomes, right? By the end of a project, when you're specifying furniture, you're like, I just want to get in. I just want a couch. Yeah. I don't have it, So I think it's I really do understand how challenging it is for homeowners to build. And that's why interior designers and people that are in the industry, professionals that are there to like help and guide you through and
it saves you money, right? And because you're saving money because you are actually being informed, but you don't have to do. I think that the common misunderstanding too is if you get an interior designer to help you with the decorating of your house, you have to have them do your entire house. That's not true. You can pay an interior designer who's done your house or done your kitchen and done your, to pick all your key pieces, or to give you a mood board, or to put you on the right direction. If you run out of budget or steam and you need a break, then you can just get ready for the next phase.
I also think that like there's a lot of things people can do that. Like I always am very creative with my clients. I treat every project as if it's my own.
Yeah.
So budget, I'm always wanting to do, like squeeze the absolute most I can out of the budget for my clients. So if there's a way that I can do it that is at the same quality, and sometimes better quality, but in a more cost-effective manner, I will. And that's like about me being clever with budget, right?
That's right.
I really
That's
love...
where experience comes in, right? That's where doing this so long, for so many people, it really does help. It does make the process easier, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk now about, you've built a pretty big business. You've got your interior architecture firm, you've got your tile business, your TV show, you're a mum to 2 beautiful kids, you're a wife, you've got 13 staff members, you're globally, selling product all across the world, you're constantly evolving. I'm in the middle of scaling my business, and I think every creative is in this sort of dilemma about time-based businesses and what that means, because there are only so many hours in a day and then there aren't. And how do you scale a creative business? Some days I kind of, doing this podcast, I've written a book, we're constantly adding and improving our businesses. But I think sometimes, you create these things and then you have all these extra meetings, you've got to do accounts, you've got to do all this other stuff that comes with running a business. Like you can't just do all the fun stuff all the time. I know some days I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to do the accounts. Now, my partner does do that now, so I'm really lucky, but I still have to be involved. I still have to know what's going on. I still have to understand the books. I still have to know when the BAS is due, all of that stuff. And it's like when that stuff starts to happen, it's like a massive brass band is going off in my head. So I can't hear what my brain... It's like, la, 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 because I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't often talk about it. We don't often talk about the fact that, yes, it's great to have a business. Yes, it's great to be our own boss. Yes, it's great to have flexibility. Yes, it's great to be creative. It's also really fucking hard.
Yeah.
And it's really tough. And some days we just want to say, I don't want to do this today. I just want to pull the doona over my head. I do not want to answer the 264 emails that just came in or the 37 missed calls I missed yesterday while I was in a client meeting. I just want it all to stop for a minute.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you?
Yeah, like every day. I'm done. Like every single day. It's funny, I was talking to one of my best friends yesterday in Sydney. He's a creative. He's the most amazing creative director. And he's like, Georgia, you called me, I crawled into bed. He works for someone, but he's like, I crawled into bed for 2 hours and I slept. He's like, I can't, because he's running a whole department on his own. He's working for an overseas company, so he's completely on his own and he's doing so much as if it's his own business, and he feels the weight, right? Yeah. And I think, you know, when you own a business, you have so much to put into that. I call it the bandwidth, right? And one of the things that I'm very good at is multitasking lots of things on my plate. I actually thrive in that environment. When I'm like, the minute I get space and quiet, I'm like, no, oh my God, no, and when, like, I can't stop. It's like invigorates me, right? Yeah. But that space allows me to be rejuvenated. But when you're in a place of like operation, accounts, people management, like marketing, all the different things, even if you have a team, in the end of the day, like I have reporting to this one, reporting to that one, reporting to me, you're still on top of it. The buck ends with you, the decisions end with you. No matter if you have advisors, no matter if you have general management and COO and global accounts manager and BDM, like all of that, it comes up to you, and these big strategic decisions end up on your plate. And to ultimately decide. And so it's the bandwidth. And I feel like sometimes, you know, I'm a creative. Sometimes I just think to myself, like, I'm just Georgia. I just want to paint. I just want to make some pottery. Like, how did I get here? You know? And I think that, I think as creatives, we have that sort of creative urge, and the business part is not necessarily always natural to us, you know? So yes, I do have those days all the time, but I just push through.
Yeah, and some days I don't. I mean, I do push through. Like, I mean, it would be very rare that I don't. But there are definitely days, like it was actually last Friday, where my bandwidth is not just full. It is just gone off the charts. And my executive functioning is actually cooked. Now, I mean, I'm assuming that's got quite a lot to do with my ADHD, and I literally do just lose my executive functioning when I'm exhausted. But I never used to be good at stopping. Now I'm actually like, that's it.
That's amazing.
I am not going to be productive today. I'm not going to make any sensible decisions. I'm out. I literally just shut my computer, turned off my phone, got into bed, and watched an entire series of absolute rubbish like this.
Yeah, but that's just vacant. What you need. Like, you
and
need
then the next day I woke up and it was Saturday and I worked a full day.
Yes, because you were rejuvenated.
And I just did everything that I needed to do, and I was like all over it. So I think it's important as a creative to also, I think in this world where we're busier and busier and busier and everything is so overstimulating and we're doing and jumping and constantly going, that we do need to get better at going, that's it. That's enough today. Because I think we're probably also creatives do beat ourselves up a lot. Like we do, because we just, I don't even know why, but we just do. We have almost got this narrative that enough is never enough and we've got to keep going and keep pushing and doing. But I think actually, as the older I get, and I don't know whether it comes from understanding myself better, the sheer amount of work I'm doing in that space, or whether or not I'm just learning really quickly that actually no is okay. Rest is okay. Saying enough is okay. Getting help when you need it is okay. And I found that I'm learning to let go more as a result. So I would micromanage the shit out of everything. All my staff, the business. And now I'm really learning, actually, they're capable of doing that. I don't need to control everything. And they can, and actually what I'm seeing now as a result of doing that for the last few years is this amazing transformation of the people that I'm surrounded with in their creativity, in their ability to give, in their ability to create. And it provides just so much more value add. And I think that it's hard to do when you're creative, but learning that is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree with all.
We always do questions at the end. They're called like rapid fire questions. They never are, because I'm not sure I can do anything rapidly, but we'll give it a go. As you know, over the last 12 months, I've been working a lot on myself, understanding myself, working out who I am, what works for me. That's been a really amazing process. It's also been a confronting process, but it's also sparked so much growth and so much space for new things. What's one thing about yourself that you would actively like to change or trying to change or working on? What's one thing people might be interested in?
There's no way I'm going to be able to answer. I'm like, how much time do you have? Okay, so you touched before on just like the sheer amount of stuff that you could be working on and the work. And I would say this is something that I'm actively working on, but I've been working on for the last 2 years, and that's really sitting with ideas for a long time before I decide that I want to bring them to fruition. Because it's not, one of the things that I always that I've I don't want to say recently realized, but it's like it's more relevant than ever. That every single time I have an idea, and as a creative, I have 12 ideas
every minute in
the last second that I was just thinking and talking with you, right? You could have 1,000 ideas, but it's not always the best to bring them all to fruition. So you think, I've been sitting with my team, we've got our sales team, like all of us are sitting together and we talk about the different ideas. How much output is that going to be from the entire team? When I'm like, okay, let's do this. And then it's like for 6 months, they're all slaving away while they're trying to do other things because Georgia has a new idea, right? What's the output? What's the money output? And what's the revenue bringer? Like, is it going to be like a high revenue bringer or a low revenue bringer, and high output or low output? So
and motivation too. I would imagine. What's the motivation behind it?
Is it like aligned with our strategic goals?
Am I doing it because I just want to, because I have to do some stuff
that's
because fun?
I love
or
it.
Is it important to the core business?
There might be like 4 different projects, as I call them, and I'll be like, this is a low output by our team and high revenue bringer for our team.
I love this.
So I'm like analyzing that. Okay, so that's one thing. There's like a business that I've prototyped ready. I just have to literally go click, and I have clients every week going, can I buy? Like, because they're on display in my showroom. And I have clients in America who are like, I've got the checkbook. When you're ready, we'll distribute. And I literally, for 4 years, have not brought that to fruition because I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth, my team don't have the bandwidth, and there are other things that are strategically more aligned for our business to push forward with before we focus on that. And that will be like, I keep going, that's a 2025 project, that's a 2026 project. Now I'm like, that's a 2027, 28 project.
But I love this because I think so many creatives, and I have been the worst at this. Just this rapid fire response to an idea without any consequence for what that actually means. I can't even tell you the thousands of dollars I used to spend in the business just wasting things because I'm just...
It's a waste of time.
It's
the Tupperware that you're talking about of ideas.
Exactly.
It's literally, you got to like take your own...
But like, this is great advice for people because I do think like sitting and thinking, but also I love this idea of understanding what it means for your entire team.
The whole team.
And holistically
like
from
you can
the business.
just tell, like yesterday I was talking to my GM and she's like, okay, hold on, let's just talk about this on Wednesday. Like, because they'll say like, Georgia, you're like fire rapper, but like I have learned to really slow down. The second thing that I'm actively pursuing and working on goes kind of hand in hand with when you were talking about micromanaging. I don't micromanage. If I trust someone, I'm like, run in the other direction. I trust you implicitly. Just report back to me when, so we have our meetings. But one of the things that I'm working on is creating really strong SOPs and systems, almost like a playbook in our company. So no one has questions about anything. They know where to go. If they have a question, we need to create a system for it. So even myself, I've spent the last 3 weeks, every single time I jump into something without someone asking me to. So like an email will come through and I will write back going, this is how I think you should answer that, or this is how I think you should do that, or just jumping in without them asking me for the support, or when I'm being asked to step into a situation, I have 2 tabs and I just go into my Google Sheet online and I write it down. And so for the next, 2 more, like maybe a totality of 5 weeks, I've already started seeing a pattern on what parts of the business they're in. And then I'm like, okay, now we need to create systems because
systems are the key. They're like,
but I'm keeping everyone back and I trust my staff implicitly. So if they're asking me, or when I jump in, I send a message, I don't trust you. When they ask me and I respond, I'm sending them a message, I don't trust them.
You. Yeah.
So I need to set up systems that they know how Georgia would do this, or our team would do this, or what's best for our business from a strategic point of view, or a business point of view, or a value point of view.
Great.
And they can make the decisions based on that, or they know what to do. And that way, everyone can grow. I'm not like
really
everyone's
important when
not
you're growing
asking,
a business, and a business is growing
but you asked
exponentially
about
globally.
But
as
you're
well.
asking about scaling. How do creatives scale? This is how creatives scale. Because as creatives,
100%.
we constantly have the way we want to do things, and that will never allow our team to step into what they need to do to, like, to action things, so that you're not pulled into every corner of every crevice of your business.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be pulled into it, you got to set up systems. This is a really key thing that I'm working on.
100%. I love that. I absolutely love that. We've just done that in the marketing aspect of our business, and the difference already is amazing. We're really systems based in all of our time, in the way we do our client onboarding, like, because I come from a systems background, so that I had sorted, but then not the micromanaging side of it. So I think it's that combination that we're talking about. It's like having the systems and letting go, but you can let go only when you have the systems, right? Because if you let go before you have the systems and the process, you're not going to be happy with it.
But like a creative business, there's so much that cannot be systemized.
Totally.
Right? Like we're not an accounting business where it's like yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. It's a creative. There's a lot left to your creative direction. So those systems are very important.
I love it. What makes your heart skip a beat in the best possible way?
Oh, God. Do you know, it's actually got, seeing my designs come to fruition. I will always say, like, it's a hit that no one can ever understand unless you're a designer. When something's been in your head or paper and you walk into it, or when something's, you've formed something, and like that's our hit as a designer. So that, for sure, when I get sampling of designs that I've put together and I'm like, oh my God, you know, like that, it's like it becomes real for me. That is so exciting. Working directly with artisans, that is like my greatest joy ever. If I could do that all day, every day.
Yeah. I understand that completely. We in the process of forming a part of the business that's called CoLab, and it's just literally working and supporting with local artisan makers, because it is so special. So I really understand that. And that's with furniture, or it's with tiles, or it's with whatever it is. It's so incredible what they do, and working with them just is magic. I totally get that. All right. What's something that you're really excited about at the moment?
Okay. I think there's a couple of things, but mainly there's just so many opportunities at the moment. You know, a lot of collaborations in America happening. So like some really exciting ranges that are going to come to fruition. But also in the last 6 months to a year, you know, as designers and creatives, we move, our style moves. So there's ranges that traditionally people wouldn't have thought would come out of Tiles of Ezra. And we're introducing some really exciting ranges in 2026. Colours, styles of tiles. I don't want to say too much, but there's Okay. And one more thing, I've got a book coming out next year. So
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's a compilation of 20 plus of my interior design projects. It's being printed, published with Hardy Grant. It's going to be available Australia-wide, US-wide, probably in London, like a few different places. But it celebrates each homeowner, just like you said. They each have their own story, and also the artisans that I've worked with. You know, there's stories on each artisan, like throughout the book. But it's just, it's one of those things that every morning you wrote a dream, like this is my goals, and and a book was always a massive...
But it speaks so much to you that the book isn't just about your interiors, it's about the people that live there and the artisans that you've worked with.
Yeah.
And to me, that is just wrapping you up so perfectly, because everything that you do is about collaboration, it's about support, it's about community, it's about family, it's about lifting others up around you. And I love you for that. And I'm so grateful for you coming on the show, and I love you to bits, and good luck with
Jess.
2026 and everything that you've got coming.
So beautiful. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.